Thank you for joining Effortless Attraction. My name is Evelyn McAleer. I'm the author of A Life You Want, Effortless, and The Woman's Journey. I'm a life coach, business mentor, and inspirational speaker. And my greatest value is making a difference in people's lives. So I hope through these podcasts, I can make a difference to your life. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on another Effortless Attraction podcast. Well, super excited today. I'm always excited. But that actually has relevance, part of it, to this podcast, even that word excited, to the gentleman that I am about to interview today. His name is Aron O'Dowd, and he has had to navigate the world and overcome many obstacles to achieve success in his life. As Aron said, where I have felt that I was knocked out on the canvas of life, and I fought to get back up and move forward. Aron loves what it is that he does, but he's been involved with sport for the past 14 years, rowing and triathlon, and he's also a masseuse. I'm going to get to that there. And Reiki, and also a podcaster. The podcast channel was once known as Partially Excited, and I'll tell you why it was named that. We'll discuss that through the show. But now has been rebranded, and the new name is called The Champion of Life. Now, what makes Aron so extremely special, and why he said that he has been knocked out sometimes in the canvas with life and the obstacles, he has a vision impairment. Is that the words, Aron, that I would use for
Yes,
that?
that's perfect, Evelyn.
There you go. I am politically correct. Yes, and so thank you so much, Aron, for your time today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to join on your show and get to be part of your audience and get to see where this conversation goes.
Well, this is it. I never know. I've never any questions written out, Aron. I always like to listen, but I think it'll go where it's meant to, and all great places. Now, our paths crossed. I believe it must be at least 2 or 3 years. I think, and 3 years ago.
I think so too.
Yeah, Aron had approached me to be on his podcast show. At that stage, it was called Partially Excited. And I always remember, isn't it amazing when you remember certain things, why the show ended up being called that? Because I believe you said you were going through an airport at one time with your father or some family member, and your father had said he's partially sighted, but they misunderstood that. They thought he's partially excited.
No, that is kind of it. So the story is that I was traveling through Scotland with my family, and we're at the checkout, and they're going through security, and they said, "Are you," in a thick Scottish accent, "are you partially excited?" instead of partially excited, and that name stuck to me to this day. So,
so hence the name. Very, very good. Aron, it's lovely. Now, how again our paths have crossed. This time is amazing where life takes us. And again, we will get on to that subject because you are now out living in Spain most of the year. And you had seen that myself and Jim had also done the flit from Ireland to Spain. And I thought, gosh, how about talking about that? But before I move on to Spain and your travels and the great things that you're doing, tell us a wee bit about, Aron, the difficulties that you did come up against in life, because there are things that we see as able-bodied or fully sighted people that we take for granted.
yeah, we live in such a visual world that, from getting up, doing daily tasks that everyone can do. But from the age of 7 to now to the age of 33, I've had a visual impairment called retina pigmentosa. And if you take your hand and turn it into a fist, that's what's been happening over the last 25 years with my vision. It's hereditary. It runs in the family, and it runs off a gene called Bardet-Biedl syndrome, which affects every system in my body, which doctors at the moment do not know. I'm part of a genetic research program in Ireland to understand how do the organs interact with this one particular gene. But they do know that that this visual impairment, retina pigmentosa, is a visual impairment that's recognized with this gene.
And That's amazing there too. And you're saying that you're part of a research. Is it that they're trying to find a cure for this, Aaron?
They're trying to find particular treatments that are possible to me, as well as particular treatments that can apply to weight management, liver, kidneys, heart, etc. Because, like I said, this gene affects the how the fat enzymes work, how the liver work, and unfortunately, the doctors don't know how the correlation of the gene and how this reacts to other organs. So they know how the visual component works, they know all that, but the other part of it, no. So for the last maybe 3 or 4, 5, 6 years, I've been getting different tests and different organs to see how they work. Are they working well? How do they interact with the gene?
And how has that been for you then, Aaron?
It's been an interesting because exploration and adventure. Even to this day, last week I found I had an issue with my liver, which I never knew, and I was chatting with my mom, and she said, "Yeah, that's one thing that is possible." And I, as an international athlete, I work with a high-end nutritionist in Ireland. We were chatting, and she said, I wonder, is it part of the gene?" I said, "Yeah, it is." So I have a strategy to identify that, fix that, and the race is now to get that better. So
Well, there you go. And many another one would be floored by that and say, no, can't get up today, can't do nothing today. This is my life and this is what's happening to me. And you could see the people perhaps would be justified in, life isn't so great. But you're on the other end of the scale. You have been, as you said, doing triathlons and rowing.
yeah, so growing up with the visual impairment I have, I was always sporty. I was adrenaline junkie, racing Labradors on a bike downhill, mountain boarding. And at the age of 16, 17, my vision started to get to a point where I couldn't do that kind of stuff anymore. I wanted to get into a sport, play rugby, GAA, hurling, whatever, but I just couldn't. And I got a letter in the post from the National Council for the Blind in Ireland saying, would you try out the sport rowing? And I said, yeah, I will. And I hopped in the rowing machine. I fell in love with it. And a space of a year, I went from knowing the sport to club level and competing in the British Indoor Rowing Championships a year later, and won that in the under 18 division, and broke the record by 32 seconds, which I found out a few days later. And for 8 years straight, that record continued where no one could touch until they changed the distances from 1K to 2K. And then after that, sorry, what?
I said, that's amazing.
I know it is. And then after that race, I went straight from Europeans to World Championships. And the space of, 4, 5, 6 years, I thought I could just turn up, not train, eat as much as I want, sleep as much as I want. And then 2013, I had an aha moment of what high performance is. And I started understanding and figuring out how to be that element of high performance in nutrition, strength and conditioning. I found it, and people came to help me as a team to develop that.
Well, there you go. And isn't that sometimes again, you took that perhaps for granted. Look, nobody's touched this record that I have set. Maybe I don't need to train as hard. Maybe I don't need to do these things. And there's somebody out there working as hard to get to that level. And she said that aha moment. I got to sort myself out here. I got to be the best version of myself. And so down this journey too, because I know one of your passions is also, Aaron, is cooking and foods, and all of that. And you're living now there in Spain, which I have to say it's an absolute blessing as far as being able to grow vegetables, probably more year round than in Ireland here. And you have your farm as well.
Yeah, so we've been coming to Spain as a family for 20 years, to Estepona, on and off. And during the lockdowns, my grandparents were in Spain, and we just needed to go out and give them a hand. And we decided, okay, as a family, let's go out and be back and forth from Ireland to Spain. And we set up, and another dream was to have a farm. And we were traveling through the mountains of Malaga, thinking would be Ronda, would be this place, would be that place. We found a spot in Cortes de la Frontera. And I don't know how to grow food or vegetables, but there are plants on the farm already, and each year passes learning how to harvest them, when to grow them, how to do everything. And, this is a lifetime project that I see to eventually just see kind of like the sport and the podcasting, over 10, 20 years time, I'll be as knowledgeable as I am right now in those areas.
Well, I definitely know whose phone number we're keeping when it comes to, because we have almond trees there. And I was like, now we need to learn how to harvest these here too. And even olive, what sort of trees or fruits do you have growing on the farm, Aaron?
So we have fig trees, olive trees, vineyard, almonds, lemon, orange, pomegranate, and we plan to grow more. So
Have you any animals on the farm?
yes. Oh no, no. There is a dog, and if sheep and horses to eat the grass, but bar that, there's no other animals.
Well, that's amazing. Isn't it a wonderful thing to be able to go out and just put your hand on the tree and pull off a piece of fruit, or to be able to use that? Because I truly, truly believe that we have to learn how to become more self-sufficient of ourselves, to work with Mother Nature, and rather than always, that we can go to Tesco's or drive through McDonald's, and as you say, all them foods, they're not really helping us or sustaining us on that. What have you noticed yourself? And I know, listen, Ireland is the most beautiful country. Has it helped you anyway beneficial in your health being out in Spain?
Um, you know, Sunshine, being able to get out, living in Ireland for the bones of 20 years, the winter time, it's hard to get out. You're in the rain. Even though as an athlete, I'm training in the rain, the sea, the ocean, outdoors. But to have the sunshine, maybe 300 and odd days of the year is kind of crazy. So that's been a huge benefit. But in that component, mentally, it's been trying to navigate the accessibility system here, the language. So it's been a bigger
Yeah,
challenge than what I had anticipated 2 years ago. But look, it's about the journey than the goal.
yeah. ¿Cómo está tu español?
um, okay, enough to get by, but learning twice a week. I have a teacher coming in, and it's really testing the tongue and the mental grit in some way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then do you find that when you're learning even a new language, Aaron, I suppose, what is your vision as far as reading is concerned?
So I have about a 30%. I don't know how to answer this question. People ask me all the time. I say it's 30%, 40%. I don't really know, but I guess that I usually say it's about 30%. But how I learn Spanish is teacher comes in and we just speak it out or
Yeah,
spell it out. It's all verbal, and if I need to get my idea in visual, she'll WhatsApp me, or I'll go onto Google and I'll look at the visuals on my computer, which is magnified, or text to speech software, which I have on my computer.
yeah. And you know what? That's it. I think conversation is a wonderful thing, because when we're learning, it's listening, isn't it? Listening skills really for anything that we're doing in life. I think it's fascinating. So tell us then, because you're very inspirational and motivational on the things that you do on social media as well, Aaron.
Mhm.
I'm sure there must be people that come to you and say, listen, I'm going through a bit of an old dark spell myself. Can you give me a bit of something to get me through? What has it that's pulled you through those days that you felt the world's against me?
Yeah, I go back to when we're a child, we love playing the football or whatever. And I usually ask people, what inspires you? What do you like doing? What do you like playing? Because in my dark moments, I have people around me that would bring me back to those moments of what can I do next? Why can I do this? How can I be better? All these trigger questions, and these trigger questions is something I use all the time. And then it would be, okay, you want to do this? What can you do? Who can you call? What can you be? Because the child in us or the adult in us knows all the answers, but sometimes the connection between the subconscious and the consciousness is where the I don't want to get out of bed syndrome comes out of. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to fix. But we all have the ability.
Yeah. What you said is so, well, it's just like that, of course, we all have the ability, but as you say, I love those words, consciousness, subconsciousness. We can consciously make an effort, and it's what we feed the most. And there's days that it's not easy, but and things can be fearful. But it was when you stepped through that that the fear sort of disintegrates or disappeared, and then you move on. And I'm quite sure, you know, they're wonderful achievements that you have done, achieved, Aron, and many a one, as we say, that can see 100% that we can run, we can walk, our liver's fine, our lungs grand, and we don't bother. What divides people, do you think?
I think it comes back to the, the I'm wealthy, I don't need to do it. Or there's I was listening a couple of years ago and I had this question myself. And I heard, Gordon Ramsay talk about a story as the artist and the ram. And I think when you're the artist, and it goes back to me when I thought I won that record and I moved from junior to senior and I was racing against bigger guys and stronger guys and more experienced. I was focusing on the artist where I just thought, yeah, I have the talent. I don't need to do the grunt work or the non-sexy stuff. But over time, I realized that it's great to have the sexy stuff and the non-sexy stuff combined. What I mean is doing the fancy stuff and doing the non-fancy stuff. And that's when you combine them together, that's when the magic occurs where, I don't want to go to bed. Oh yeah, I want to go to bed because I'm passionate. I love what I do and it'll happen and da 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 da, and it happens.
Yeah, it's drive. Would you say you're a driven person, Aron?
I am highly driven to a point where I would be a class A athlete and a class A individual where it's drive, focused, goal, all that kind of stuff. And I've had I'll share a story that kind of indicates my drive. In 2017, I got prepared for a major race to be in the Irish team. I lost that race. I got dropped from the team, and I lost my seat in the boat. I came back into my coach that I was working with, and I said I was furious that all these things happened. And he said, "Okay, Aron, we're going to design this new type of training system." And where I was training was a hypoxia center, where it's a room like you and I are sitting in right now, and there's a machine above it compressed. This is the room to feel like you're at 9,000 feet, 14% oxygen. And halfway into the sessions, you really feel the blood pumping harder and the muscles pumping harder. And in this room, he said, "Okay, Aron, we're going to spend 3 months doing this 1 minute sprinting, 1 minute recovery." And it was grueling for 3 months straight. And what I learned was being mentally grit. But anytime I'd back off, he would roar and F and blind at me, slap the rowing machine, and the whole building heard us train. In the space of 3 months, I got back on the team. I was the fastest in the men's single. No one could outsprint me, and I was able to overtake guys who were, 2-3 kilometers ahead of me. And that's the level of drive that I would go to and to be committed to reach the goal I want to achieve.
There you go. Like one of these, the silent man. Now, I would see stuff of Aron on social media, but it's only when you actually get time to sit down and have a conversation, because none of this information I knew until you asked the questions. But that's fascinating. That's, yeah, what am I willing to do in order to achieve what it is that I want to achieve for me, first and foremost? And also, then, what you're doing by that is being the advocate and to be an inspiration to others. You can, but you have to push yourself. And the right people will always come into your life at the right time to support you. Or we get the other choice: lie down. You can stay in bed. You can just stay comfortable and make do. And that's all right too, because that's a choice at the end of the day as well. Aron, so listen, I probably have read that wrong where I said, is it a masseuse or Reiki massage? Are they two different things?
They're two different things, but my massage work combines energy work, combines compression boots, massage guns, frequency technology, frequency music, and many more elements into one particular massage therapy. I discovered holistic therapies, and after I won year after I won that race, and I had problems in school, and my mom said, "Hey, do you want to go see a psychologist?" And said no. And I have nothing against psychologists; they're fantastic what they do, but it just didn't fit for me at that time. And my mom said, "Hey, there's a Reiki therapist around the corner from where we live. Would you give it a try?" And I said, yes. And I went and got my first treatment, and I was hooked on the holistic and complementary therapies. And I went off and got into meditation. And meditation I practice is Kriya Yoga. And then I got into massage, anatomy, physiology, and now I'm taking those elements and pushing them together, as well as the high performance recovery components and other aspects to make a treatment like I described.
Fabulous. We see, I know about Reiki, and but because I'd seen the word massage there, but when you talked about things like frequency, now I'm quite sure people that follow what it is that I do, I talk quite a lot about vibrations and frequencies. And
Mhm.
but Aaron, if we could just put it in layman terms, so this might be someone's first time hearing this and going, oh, what are we talking about frequencies? If you could just basic level what frequencies are.
So you and I are talking on Zoom right now. You're in Ireland and I'm in Spain. And a signal is being beamed up from space to a satellite, and the satellite is beaming that signal back down to our computers and our technology to be able to have this conversation right now. That beam that sends from the computer to the satellite is a frequency. You and I are speaking, we're speaking through frequency. Our body needs frequency, and frequency is hertz. We listen to music. Music uses hertz, which is the car to drive the music and the beats and the instruments that we hear. If you struck a guitar, that guitar generates energy, and that energy is frequency. And to go a little bit down deeper is those frequencies have mathematical numbers like 528, which would be for recovery and for the cells to recover and to rejuvenate. And there are many different numbers and combinations of frequency to allow the body to, digest, recover, get rid of whatever mentally and physically and emotionally. And I have a dear friend who makes this music, and in 2019, I actually broke my arm on a meditation trip, and in Austria, and I came back, went to the doctor, and said, "Yeah, you got a fractured arm. You'll be out for 6-8 weeks." And the driven athlete I am, it's like, no, I'm gonna get this healed as quick as I can. I did Himalayan salt baths, jammed on 528 hertz frequency music and a pulse energy magnetic frequency machine, and did about 3 hours of those of the pulse energy magnetic frequency machine and the music. And in space of 3 weeks, my arm was, I'd say, 80% healed. Doctor like, what? Come back 3 weeks later and it was 100% healed. So that's what frequency music on top of other frequency technology can do.
Yeah. The body resonates. Everything is transmitting, it's vibrating, it's transmitting on frequencies. And that's why that the name of my show is called Effortless Attraction. Now, some people might think that sounds very much like a dating show, Evelyn, but effortless attraction to me is the attraction, because frequencies and vibrations, they attract to one another. If we're operating on the same frequencies, which we do, then that's how we effortlessly attract. That's how we effortlessly attract things into our life, depending on the frequency that we're operating on ourselves. And how we can shift them or change them about for ourselves is the thoughts we think, is the words we speak, is the feelings that we have. And it doesn't make us a better person if you're operating on a higher frequency than lower frequency. And all that it creates is a better experiences, a better life, better feelings, just more things, great things flow into your life on higher frequencies or vibrations. And that's how I think it's, when I say to people, when you start making changes in our own lives, sometimes people that we had as friends, that can drop away because we're operating on different frequencies. Doesn't make us bad or better or good than the other. But life's easy actually when you kind of see it like that, Aaron. Do you think?
It is.
It's amazing. And I love having these conversations because it's not an everyday. Some people would say there's no way I would talk to anybody else about that, but it's become easier now. Most people that I do talk to, we talk about frequencies, vibrations, and people will say, God, you could feel a vibe, good vibes, high vibes. And we are human transmitters, and you do pick up, even though your sense of sight may not be at 100%, Aaron, but your body's a complete magnet. And you actually now, through that, you're probably more, you're intuitive. That has probably developed more for you, where you can feel the energies around you.
Yeah, people ask me this question a lot. You can feel the energies, you can smell them, you can taste them, your senses are so heightened. My answer is all the time is we all have this ability. I am just lucky that I picked to have a visual impairment in this life to uh learn that and experience that. But if you take out your phone and you look at all the apps you use and don't use, the apps you don't use is probably the abilities that you have that you aren't aware of and don't know how to use. But if you start using that app, you'll eventually figure out, oh, I am energetic. Oh, I have this frequency. Oh, I have these telepathic components, and they're just apps in our subconscious that have to trickle down into our consciousness to be able to transmit that ability into the external world from the internal world.
Yeah. You know, sometimes when myself and Jim would go out for walks around the forest park, I close my eyes and I link onto his arm. And it's, you have to trust, and it's scary, but it's a completely different feeling when you cannot see. But then I can smell better. Would you believe that? I'm sure you do, because here's me saying to you, but I can smell better. I can hear better. I feel where my feet, the thing is, I just can't see where I'm going, and I'm trusting to be guided. But everything else is heightened.
Yeah.
That's so funny, me saying to you now. Would you believe that? You'll
You
never
just never
believe.
know what he said, you know?
You'll never believe me, Aaron. Oh, fabulous. Yeah, so there was another thing you say: nutrition, mindset, physical, mental. And even though, and you said something there, which I picked up on, that you chose in this lifetime to be visually impaired. And that's a whole big, deep conversation for another time, because I think for people, they may and they may not get it. What do you mean? He picked it. He chose this journey. Oh, well, I'll briefly go over that one. Do you think you did, Aaron?
You know, looking back at 33 years, I have a feeling I did, you know, and it's funny, a lot of the friends who I am are in this space, and they're quite experienced of 20, 30 years in this space, and they say, Aaron, oh yeah, you chose this. And like, Aaron, you're not blind, and Aaron, you're not this. But in fact, I do believe I chose this. I chose to do rowing. I chose to do triathlon. I chose to live in Spain. All these are choices, the same way I choose to eat meat, fish, or vegetarian. It's the same thing.
There you go. Fabulous. Oh, I've loved this conversation, Aaron. And I have no doubt that we will be hooking up in Spain, because I'll be organizing workshops. And now you've just told me he does yoga. Tick. I need a yoga master. He does Reiki. Tick. There's another man, right? All in one. All in one package. And he's only down the
Fabulous.
road. I drive
Yeah.
down, lift you, take us around the farm, educate us on the processing, on harvesting of the trees. We have a lot to learn. And as in the world, when you think of it, when we say the world is a small place, but whenever you reach out and connect to people, and we have yet to meet in physical, but we've met energetically, and we can see other through the screen here. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's amazing that people, you just have that instant connection.
you do.
Aaron, I want to say thank you so much for your time. And I want to say to anyone who would like to follow Aaron's story, you'll find him. He's on LinkedIn. He's on Instagram, but he hasn't put any posts up, because I was checking it out there. Well,
My
do you know
sister
what?
jokes at me, Aaron, you've got 100 and odd people and you've no posts. Like, come on, post something, you know?
What you know what it is, people. I think you underestimate how interesting your life is and your story is, and how inspirational you are. So that's the benefits of social media, to
Yes,
inspire others. And the whole ethos behind Effortless Attraction podcast is to make a difference in the lives of others. So let's get some posts up on Instagram, and he's also on Facebook as well. So I have learned a lot more about you on this call, Aaron, than I actually see on social media.
I'm a silent sniper rifleist in some way.
You have your tagline, which is on LinkedIn, the champion of life and making the impossible become possible. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Aron O'Dowd. And I want to say, Aron, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Thank you so much for your time to listen to Effortless Attraction podcast, and we really hope that today's episode has made a difference to your life. Now, a quick shout out to business owners, regardless of the size. Would you like to sponsor an episode of Effortless Attraction? I am always on the lookout for amazing businesses who love to make a difference in people's lives. So if you would like to sponsor an episode, we'd gladly advertise your business. Please reach out. It's Evelyn at evelynmcaleer.com. Thank you so much.